actually what started to happen, which was quite scary, is we kind of started to downscale a little bit, coaching 80, 90 clients and spending all my time doing check-ins. So I never really had the chance to actually properly grow the business. Back in 2020, I never would have expected me to have got to 30, 40, now potentially 50K per month. I do genuinely believe now that we can get to 100K a month, and I would never have thought that.
Why do you feel that you're able to break through, whereas most people do get stuck?
I think you have to be brave. You have to be okay with...
All right, we are joined by Chris Wright. Me and Chris have been working together for a fair bit now, and we're going to run through exactly how he scaled his business, and he's shooting right for the 50K months now. So Chris, give us an intro on yourself.
Thanks for having me on, Azri. So yeah, I think I've been online coaching now for about 5 years. Started off like a lot of people, personal training, and then it was actually COVID that got me online then. And then yeah, since then I've managed to scale. Obviously I live in Dubai now as well, which is great. And obviously managed to build a team in the last kind of couple of years too. And obviously working with you's been amazing, and we're in an even better spot. So it's kind of where we're at the moment.
Appreciate you saying. So what made you get into online coaching more seriously? We have PTs in this space, we have coaches getting started, and of course we have coaches like yourself going all in. So what made you take this more seriously to take it up to the next level?
I think it's because I could see the potential of it. Like, I think when I started online coaching was very new. I didn't really know like where it was going. I didn't really know where I could get to with it. But then I kind of saw other people that were doing really well with it. I realized it wasn't something that had to be just about myself. And at that point, I just got a bit more excited about where I really could take it. I guess I got more into the business side of things rather than just purely about it being fitness at the start, where that's like your biggest kind of like area of expertise. And then, yeah, after seeing the potential and I guess just scaling it up a little bit, it just kind of made me excited of where I'd be able to take it to next. And I think it's just like the locational freedom of it as well. Obviously, like I said, I live in Dubai. I've managed to travel a lot in the last 12 months as well. So taking it more seriously has allowed me to be able to live, you know, a life in which I'm really pleased with. I can do a lot of nice things. And yeah, I think just having the business to this position has been fantastic.
Love to hear it. So I think a lot of people get stuck in a position of not having belief in the potential as well. So what made you see that so you could believe it more and more?
I think obviously people like yourself, like seeing, you know, how well your business was doing, other coaches as well that were also in a position where they were doing really well. I think when you see the potential and you see the kind of numbers that some coaches are doing, it gets you really excited. And I guess then for me, I was thinking, well, like, you know, why can't I get to the same position too? And I just think from then, like, that belief has kind of changed. And even since working with you guys, like, you know, I'm in a position now where I probably didn't think I was going to be able to get to. Whereas I think over time you keep kind of, you know, reaching those ceilings and pushing past them, and then, you know, getting into a position which is exciting. So yeah, I think that's where it is right now. And I think it's just pushing for that next stage, which I'm sure we'll be able to get to.
Love to hear it. So we will talk about the next stages and where you're at as well, but what mistakes did you make at the beginning when getting to where you're at right now? You know, there's mistakes at every level, the 0 to 10, 10 to 20. What did that kind of look like for you all the way up to where you're at now?
Yeah, so I think the first biggest one was obviously trying to do everything myself. So I got stuck in fulfillment. I was coaching like 80, 90 clients and spending all my time doing check-ins. So I never really had the chance to actually properly grow the business. That was probably like my mistake when I was in that like 0 to 10K range. Then probably like 10 to 20 was probably just hiring the right people and like getting the right team on board. Because at that point, obviously I felt like, you know, I needed another coach. I've been through a couple of coaches in the past that haven't worked out. I've had to get rid of them. I think when I've obviously done that, it's taken a bit of a down step into the business as well. Setters, hiring. And then I think obviously now with where we're at, like we push past 20, like the more like 30 to 40, it's ads, right? So understanding how to use those, because I think especially now, like trying to grow organically with this is just it's not really possible, especially with the numbers that we're trying to hit. So then it was understanding ads. I made a lot of mistakes with that, knowing what ads funnel to run. And I think now the clarity that we've obviously worked through over the last few months has enabled me to know the right strategy towards my business as well. Because like we were saying before this, everyone's probably got different strategies that they want to use for their ads. But I think actually getting the clarity on what works for me has been game changing. So yeah, I think it's getting out of fulfillment, getting the right team, scaling ads, like as we start to kind of push up in terms of revenue.
I'd love to hear it. So for you specifically, if we take it more into your business as well, where is it at right now, and where was it at before, I guess?
So before, I was kind of arranging in terms of revenue, is that, or just in general like size? Yeah, revenue wise. So then we were shooting at around, got to the point where I was doing around 30K a month, but then we dropped down quite considerably. I think there was a point where I was managing to scale a little bit, and then I think there was also a lot of flaws in the business where I didn't really see myself. Then I started to travel a bit towards the start of the year. There was just gaps that I could see appearing, and actually what started to happen, which was quite scary, is we kind of started to downscale a little bit. So I had like 2 or 3 months which were really behind in terms of where I was the previous year. So I guess like at that point, I think we were kind of just slightly coming under the 20K range again, which was concerning. And then obviously we jumped on a call, we had a chat, and at that point I even was still working with the previous mentor, but I decided to jump in with yourself. So then I think we just managed to push straight back up again. So we pushed past 30, pushed past 40, and now obviously we're shooting for 50 this month, which would be amazing. But I think now it's just the stability, which is the biggest thing. Like the time when the business was kind of slowly going backwards, I realized there was a lot of flaws and there was a lot of things that I was doing wrong. And I think if I hadn't fixed those, I don't know whether we would have then been able to get the numbers back up again and get them to where they are now. Because I feel like now there's a lot more stability. Like I suppose like emotionally, I'm able to understand things a lot more, just because obviously, we track everything. The data is easy for me to see where things are going wrong. Whereas I think last time there was a little bit of a shooting in the dark type approach, which just didn't really kind of serve me when it comes to building that consistency.
Understandable. And there's a lot of conversations I've had, maybe 40, 50 conversations this week with people in a very similar situation, trying to get out of that situation. So calls where people are trying to jump into our thing. So for you, what were the key systems, key steps that you feel like you took over this period of time that got you to the next level?
Firstly, it would be hiring and actually knowing how to hire properly. So a lot of obviously what you teach is there's a lot of SOPs, there's everything is documented. So for me, when I was getting on interviews or even when I was posting job adverts, like I would know exactly what I was looking for. I would know what KPIs I was looking for. So my system around hiring has been so much better. And like in the last 12 months, I have taken on members of staff, which have just been considerably better. So we took on a coach at the start of the year, great coach. I took on a setter who's now, one of my best setters, which is great. So that would be the first thing. I think that system of understanding how to hire and not just taking on the first person that you obviously jump on a call with. And then I just think, as I said, with the ad strategy as well, where there's clear kind of outline KPIs and what we're looking for. So we jump on calls regularly and look at my ads and stuff. And I just think that understanding that too has made a massive difference. Otherwise, you just end up kind of burning money. And I think people can be a little bit worried about spending money on ads because they don't necessarily know what they're looking for to get back. Whereas you've helped me break that barrier. It's like, it's like spend more. And I think when you start spending more, like it almost just that then becomes the new norm.
I believe the main thing that gives you confidence behind pushing the numbers on the front end is having the metrics to back that up so you're profitable and consistently scaling profitably. And then inevitably there's bottlenecks which you have to fix, and that pushes you to the next level and again and again. But, a lot of people get stuck on step one here. So what do you feel that you did differently, you personally? Why do you feel that you're able to break through, whereas most people do get stuck?
I think you have to be brave. So like, I think I said this on one of our calls recently, and I'm guilty of that. Like you have to be okay with spending money to be able to test things. People will, put a little bit of money towards an ad and they will just shut it off really quickly, potentially because they just worried about whether they're losing money. And it's like, if you lose 100 quid, it's 100 quid. Like it's not that much money. I think it's just having the mindset that you are gonna lose money, you are gonna go wrong potentially, but then you will get it right and you'll start to scale from there. So I think it's definitely just being brave enough to test, to be able to understand that to be able to get clients, you have to spend money. I think now if you're looking to scale, maybe not just to get to 3 or 4K a month, of course you can do things organically, but 90% of our acquisition now is paid. So if you don't understand that you need to be able to invest into that and to be able to get the clients out, I think it's very difficult to be able to scale with things. So I'd say to that person, like, just be okay with spending some money and understanding that that's part of the process to know, that you are going in the right direction.
I think people also get very stuck in their ways trying to do the same thing again and again. For example, most people, I don't even know if they have the setup to even scale their spend because their DM setting system is just leaking leads left, right, and center. They can't even scale the ads there, but they're not even able to identify the bottlenecks because the data's not there to show it, kind of thing. And then, of course, with scaling the spend as well, it's like if we're running it in, let's say, the same top boosted reel, top performing reel creative for the next 6 months, and they don't realize it's fatigued 3 months ago. It's
I agree completely. That's another really good point. Like, you can run all the ads in the world, but if you're not able to convert the new traffic that's coming in, then it's actually pointless. You know, I speak to some coaches still that, like, I know they haven't got like an appointment setter, and you know they're trying to run it all themselves and stuff, and it's like it's the speed to lead, I think, is really important. So if you're running paid traffic, you know, we're gaining over 100 followers a day, sometimes closer to 200. We're messaging those followers pretty quickly as soon as they followed, because we know that like it's how quickly we can get there is going to give us a much better chance of booking them in. So yeah, ads are important, but of course, like, you need to be able to nurture those people as well. So it's getting a good setter and, you know, making sure that they're competent, and then running the right ad strategy as well. So it's like those two. When you get those two things right, I think scaling it's pretty simple, really, isn't it? It just comes down to more spend to get more followers, to convert them into calls, and that's pretty much that simplicity is what I've learned from you guys, is helped me scale a lot and almost not get sidetracked at doing things which are just not worth my time.
I appreciate you saying, and one of the biggest things with the numbers as well, I do believe, is knowing what to send out and then how much you're expecting back from that in terms of response. And then on the second message, third message, how many call offers, how many call bookings, and what a setter should actually be held accountable to in terms of KPIs. And then, of course, knowing what numbers you're putting in on the front end with the data, and then, of course, being able to split test creative properly, efficiently, scale the budget efficiently as well. So going past that as well, how do you feel your mental frame has changed around business in general?
Yeah, I think naturally I think I've become a lot more mature, like, in the last 12 months. So I think I've been able to deal with the highs and the lows a lot more. It's like I say, just going back to ads as well. I never would have thought 3 or 4 years ago, you know, I'd be spending 5-6K a month on Facebook ads. Be like, just, you know, that's probably the money that I would be wanting to earn that time a year ago in terms of like making. So I think as a business owner, I've been a lot more open to, as I say, taking more risks, you know, been able to lead my team a lot more, changing my mindset around that. I think I've come away now from just, you know, obviously looking at this as like a solopreneur and like actually really wanting to like grow a team and grow a business as well. Obviously, like, you know, my brother works full time for me too. So, you know, I've had to mature to be able to support him and integrate him into the business as well. So I think mindset's everything. Like, I genuinely do think that, like, to keep getting to the next level, it just comes down to your mindset and understanding, you know, actually breaking the kind of previous you that maybe was holding you back. And that's what I feel like I've really managed to achieve, because me 3 or 4 years ago, maybe when I started online coaching back in 2020, like, I never would have expected me to have got to, you know, 30, 40, now potentially 50K per month. And, you know, I do genuinely believe now that we can get to 100K a month. And I would never have thought that, especially at the start of the year. Probably my barrier was like maybe where we're at right now. So it's just taking it to that next level, and obviously seeing a lot of the guys that, you know, that you've worked with as well, when they've managed to get to, I think that's what excites me too, knowing that that's really what is possible, especially with the kind of systems and stuff that we've now built into the business. Yeah, there's always gonna be stuff that I'm sure will go wrong and things to fix, but I think it's exciting with where we can get to now. So yeah,
I love to hear it. And I do think it's the same as, you know, someone who's, like, for example, if someone was 200 kilos overweight, for them, the idea of, let's say, even seeing abs ever is absolutely impossible, right? It's nothing that could be achievable without making some extreme sacrifice, which there's an anomaly for, which they'll never be able to achieve. I see it the exact same way with a lot of, let's say, business owners. Say they've been ranging at the 5, 10, 15 range, and they're like, 100K a month is just absolutely impossible. But then that's because they've never had, let's say, a conversion mechanism that can consistently, predictably scale their lead flow and sales as well, client acquisition. So it's the same. Like, if you tell someone who is like, let's say, 150 kilos now, that they could at some point in 12 months or in 16 months, 2 years, see abs, visible definition in the mirror. It's like, for them, it's way too far out to even believe, because they haven't taken the first step into even, let's say, losing the next 5 kilos or 10 kilos, because they don't know what's in front of them or how to get there, right?
It's so true, yeah. Yeah, like, I mean, we literally had a client in the exact back here, like a guy that was in his 50s, did one of our photo shoots, dropped 40 kilos, and had abs like in it for the first time in his life. And yeah, at the start, I'm sure when I jumped on a call with him, he probably didn't actually think that was possible as well. And that's the power of coaching and obviously investing in yourself to get the right support. Like you just change your entire belief in terms of what is actually possible. And as I said, I think it's that's the biggest thing. Like, you know, what stops people from scaling? It is mindset, isn't it? Because if someone else has managed to do it, there's no reason why you can't as well. It's just actually believing that you can get there. But I think that's why if you have the right support, the right people around you, you invest in the right program, really at that point, then it just becomes a matter of time if you keep consistently putting in the work. And I think that's what, you know, the position that we've got to now. And hopefully if this month does, like I think we said, it should be a PB, but if we can hit 50 even better, then obviously I turned 30 at the weekend as well, so that'd be a nice time to to hit it on my 30th, so we'll see.
That'd be sick. So look, you're not the new kid on the block. You've been with many mentors before. So what do you feel the difference was and the deciding factor as well for you jumping into this?
Yeah, it's easy. I think with you guys, it's just like the attention to detail and the amount of support that I've got on this mentorship. As I say, I've invested in lots of mentorships. I think each one has helped me at the point I've been at during that time frame. So like initially I started on a mentorship, which was, you know, purely just around getting you online fully. That was great. Then I've obviously worked with mentors that have got me to like that next stage. But this time around, it's just like actually having support from obviously yourself, where I can reach out to you, I could book in a call with you, which I found really great. But it's just also your team as well. Like obviously, you know, I speak with Sam every week, massively supportive, always able to run through bottlenecks and stuff with him as well. As I say, James is great too. So I think it's just the support that I've had on this mentorship has been significantly better than other ones from that perspective. I think that like where I've been on ones previously, like the person in charge has almost scaled themselves up to the point where like I've then not really managed to get the support that I needed from them. And then obviously as my business has grown, I've almost been like passed down a little bit, which I get it. But I think with you, like you're really good at still being able to give the time and attention to people like myself. And as I say, I think you've got a great team on board as well. I really resonate. I really get great support with Sam. I think he's great. And I think James is really good at teaching sales, much better than probably just some of the sales coaches that I've had in the past, just because of his style. And I'm not slating the way that other people coach sales. I know everyone's different, but I just like the way that James coaches it. It feels to me very authentic because I almost feel like I'm not necessarily selling people on the call. It just feels like it's much more of a conversation and trying to helping people. So that I think is the combo for why I've achieved a lot more with you guys.
Love to hear it. And I do think it comes down to as well, for you have the willingness to execute and put in the work as well. You can't really, you can try your best to install that in someone, but once again, when we see, we only work with a very select few people. Everyone who's been through our funnel kind of knows this. We disqualify half the people. So we're like the people that we want to take on board. We're like, we know they are a coach who gets great results. We know they can execute, they can do the work, and they need a roadmap ABC to get to where they are. So what helped you get into a position where you're like, I can go in and I just need direction to execute on this with the right level of information every day?
I think it was like, I think having everything tracked and having everything looked at was the biggest thing for me. So like looking at the data, even like from fulfillment to sales to lead generation, even content, I remember at the start we were getting on calls, we were talking about my content, how we were going to be able to scale that and stuff like that too. So when you've got numbers in your business for everything and like metrics that are kind of within the ranges that you want them to be, so like KPIs set, it makes things so much easier to kind of know what's working and what's not working. And then when you're scaling, obviously, if something does break, you kind of know what it is, what you need to fix. So I think again, I know that obviously you're incredibly deep with your data and the way that you track things. I mean, some of the sheets you gave me, I'm still getting my head around them. But I think that having all of that data backed has been massive for me because I'm not the most organized person in the world, but I forced myself to be good at looking at data and obviously tracking what's important in my business. So actually now being able to reflect on that has been massive because, I know what I need to fix. There's always problems, but when you know what it is that you need to fix, you're not wasting time doing the wrong thing. And then once you fix that, you can obviously then keep getting to the next stage. So I think with you guys, that's been one of the biggest things I've kind of had out of it as well, with like the data and the tracking and knowing what we need to work on.
Understood. I always say you can run very, very fast in the wrong direction without the data. And I think I have confidence behind the data and all these sheets and stuff because I've made very, very, very expensive mistakes because of emotions tied to the business instead of data. When you see swings in like a month, or you see something absolutely tank and you're like, fuck, why haven't I collected 50% of the cash I'm even meant to this month? We have payroll, we have this, we have spend, and we're like, how the fuck did this happen? You're like, oh, because I don't have this track. Like, how many times can you make that mistake before you're just like, okay, I don't want inconsistent months anymore. I actually want a business that I can rely on, that runs itself. And then, I just went heavy into that because I was like, I don't trust myself emotionally to not make data-backed decisions.
That's it, exactly. It's like making emotional decisions then. Like when you can look at things logically, it's just a lot easier to be able to scale. And especially when it comes to things like ads, like when you can see that you're making money on ads, you don't mind spending money. So like, I know that we've spent like 6K on ads this month, but at the moment we're like a 3x ROAS. So I'm okay with that. Like, I'm not worried about looking at my Amex every month thinking, oh my God, I've spent all this money, because that's the mindset people have sometimes. You have to know those metrics and know those numbers to then know that it's okay. And then, I still are a little bit anxious about spending 10K on ads, but like, if I know that that's going to get me 30K back in new cash, then it's like, well, who wouldn't put that much in to get that much back? You know what I mean? So like, I think you have to do this properly to be able to really scale with things. Otherwise you're just shooting in the dark.
Honestly, I think at the beginning, people literally just do not have the balls to actually see it as a test and budget to pay for the lesson, essentially. And I'm like, this is unreal. You're seeing like a 5x return and you're spending like 500 quid a month. It's like, why would you not want to put more money into this? It's like, you have a machine that is printing. The only thing that you can pull on this lever is the spend. Every single other number is in place. Why would you not pull the one number that will make you more money? And I think the big reason is because, of course, like the data as well, but people have limiting beliefs around money. So they think that, just because we're spoiled in the info space, before you could just post transformation photos, get leads, and then you have closers. You could just message people in your followers, get leads, you book calls, you get paid, right? You get them on a call.
Yeah.
And we're so spoiled in this space because I have a lot of friends in other industries, in e-com, in dropshipping, in SaaS, right? And they don't even think of it as like organic is an acquisition channel. They are just like, okay, the marketing budget is 200 grand and we're expecting to make 300 grand. We just have to spend this much to make another 100 grand in profit, right? So
100%.
They're like, I'll open up 5 credit cards to pay 200 grand.
Yeah.
That's how they look at it.
That's the thing. It's changed so much now. Like back in the day, obviously, I wasn't running ads when I started off with online coaching, but it was just significantly easier. I think obviously there was maybe less people doing it. It was kind of new, so people didn't really know as much about it, but they were also kind of intrigued how it worked and stuff. But yeah, like you said, I post transformation, get a bunch of inbound leads. I wouldn't message anybody. I would do no outbound. It would just literally be people coming my way. Whereas now, even with the size of my account, I don't get many people inbound. Like, it's like, all right, sometimes, but I think anybody now that is wanting to push beyond, I know 10K is maybe a bit of an arbitrary number, but like, I just don't think you can without ads, in my honest opinion, unless you've got a really good following. Maybe you've made viral videos and stuff and you've already got an audience. But for most people that haven't, it's just, you have to understand paid traffic, because like you say, that is what most businesses do to grow. So
I think people need to accept the reality that the game's changed. Just like before you could say, hey, appreciate the follow. Are you here for the content? You're looking to get in shape? Or, I'm looking for 5 guys to lose 10 kilos in the next 5 days. Buy my thing, please. Before you could actually do that. And everyone was very numb to the online marketing space. But like, realistically, it's been 6 years since COVID, 7 years now. Like, it's not like there's 10 coaches in the online space now. Like, the game's changed. And of course, paid traffic is going to be the most consistent, reliable system once the organic is kind of maxed out, which honestly, I don't think people are doing anyways, just because they're sending like 10 messages a day expecting to get clients as well. That's another problem. But
yeah, I just think you max out organic so quickly now as well. Like, again, like if it depends how many people you message and how many you outreach per day, but like you'd burn through things so quickly, and then it just becomes to a point where like, how can you get more eyeballs on your page? It's very difficult unless you, as I say, start creating more viral traffic, like from, I don't know, trying to go viral, which can be quite difficult. Or you actively go out and message people cold or get them to follow you. So yeah, I think is the biggest way that we scale anyway, from getting more eyeballs and more people on the page. So if you can't do that, then you're going to always run into problems and stuff anyway. So it's changed a lot now. I think it will continue to change, and I think it's just pivoting with the times and stuff in terms of like, leveraging what it is that we need. So yeah, like that's probably been the biggest thing.
And I think one of the biggest changes around this is the difference between monthly recurrent onlys and then going in for high ticket programs. Like, people also need to understand that there is a cost per acquisition. So if it costs you like £50 to book a call, if it costs you £100 to take a call and £150 to acquire a client, that means that you have a liquidation cost, right, for your ad spend. You have, let's say you pay a coach £30-40 a month to fulfill on that client. So let's say you're already putting up about 200 quid on the front end acquisition, maybe 220 with the setters as well, to acquire a client. That means that if you are only pitching monthly recurring and expecting the safe LTV play, which I think is bullshit anyways, but if that is your only scalable model that you're thinking, you have to look at it as you are going to scale faster if you can collect that upfront. If you collect 1.2k for 6 months versus just the £200 a month, because let's say that £200, you cover the cost of that client and that's it. You have no marketing budget left. If you collect the 1.2k for 6 months, you can spend that next 1k to acquire your next five clients who also pay you, let's say on average £600-700 between split downs and between paid in fulls. So if people are literally just stuck only doing £250 a month, I think it's very, very difficult to scale, especially with how the market looks now.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, that's what I used to do. I think most people were monthly. Like that was, it's because it's easy to sell. Like if you're not necessarily very experienced with sales and you just want the easy sell, you can obviously just push people into monthly. But yeah, when you are looking to really scale and push things, more cash collected, like you say, can be put back into ads. But also, like, just in terms of fulfillment and actually getting someone a result, like, I think one of the biggest ways that we've been able to scale as well and build the brand has been from getting in incredibly good results for our clients. Like, we do get really good transformations. Obviously, we've been able to leverage them in the way that's helped book more calls too. But a lot of the clients we've worked with, if I sold them a monthly program, I don't know whether they would have stayed. I don't know whether they would have got to the transformation they've got to. So even from a fulfillment perspective, which is obviously going to then fuel your front end anyway, from being able to post those transformations and use them, monthly just doesn't really make sense. Like, if someone really cannot do anything, even like 2 months up front, great, it will take a monthly, we'll throw it back in again into ads traffic. But yeah, it just makes sense, like, to always try and push the upfront. You're actually doing the client, I think, an injustice by taking a monthly payment from them. If they drop out, they might have a bad start. They might, I don't know, get ill. I'm cancelling this month and whatever, right? So it doesn't make sense from a business perspective. That, again, is one thing I think we've really worked on a lot now, trying to push my AOV up a lot in terms of the amount of cash I'm taking on calls. Because it's just it's the quickest way to scale as well.
100%. And I think a really big factor around this, of course, you're going to have more committed clients, better testimonies, better transformations, and of course, people getting better results, more impact. But I have a feeling that it's the safety factor on relying on MRR, say trying to take your MRR to 5K, to 10K, to 15K over 50 years, instead of just being like, why can't you just double your new cash collected? You're collecting 2-3K in new cash and the next 10K in MRR. It's like, why don't you just take that 3K to 15K? Because then that is what's also going to build up your MRR on the back end. There's nothing stopping you from selling them on a recurring on the back end after their program finishes. And the biggest thing there is just making sure that you are able to even position your offer properly, make sure the lead is nurtured well enough before the call. So that means a proper DM system, because you can have nurture assets in the process. And then, of course, being able to actually sell properly as well, which doesn't take long to basically figure out how to go through a sales script properly, how to actually go through your offer pitch properly as well. But then, of course, nailing down objection handling. So how do you feel you've been able to get to a point from selling monthlies to paid in fulls, other than just, of course, saying a bigger number on the call?
I think it's a few things. I think the overall structure of the way that sales, the way that you guys coach sales has been huge. I think what's really worked for me is it feels like when I'm speaking to people now, what I used to do was, I don't know, it would be a very sort of standard pitch. I'd share my screen, I'd talk them through a slide deck of something that was just a little bit generic. I didn't really feel like it was very personalized. Whereas obviously since being on the program, you guys I haven't spoken with James, gone through that. I feel like now I'm just having a conversation with someone. Obviously, yes, it's a sales call for sure, but it's more for me just actually really listening, taking proper notes from that person and understanding what it is they actually need. And then when I go and pitch, what it is I feel like they need, I'm actually talking about their problems in terms of what I think is going to work for them. So we use the 3 pillars, but we actually tell them exactly what it is that they're going to need, what stood out for me, how we're going to fix that problem, rather than just like, the standard generic stuff I was doing before. But what that's allowed me to do is it just means that when I then, pitch the solution, it makes it sound like a no-brainer that they would pay the full investment up front, because I kind of will go down the line of what we're trying to do is fix the whole problem that, if you do it once, you do it with us properly, would have the whole thing sold. If you go into a monthly package with us, it's just this like reoccurring amount of money that comes out every month. There's never really an end date to it. So I think it's just like the whole structure of the way that the sales process has worked, but now to pitch what we do is a very unique solution, and been able to get them to understand that it's a one-time investment. We do it properly. We do it, for this whole, amount of package, is what's essentially going to help them fix the problem for good. And when people think, right, okay, like I just need to put that much money in one time to get the full solution for the rest of my life, still you're going to get financial objections, but it's a lot less because people kind of weigh it up and think, actually, you know what, like we can do it properly now, and then I'll never have to go back and do it. So it's just getting good at sales and knowing your offer and knowing your program, having a real conversation with someone, not just giving them a load of jargon that you've just decided, sounds cool for like a slide deck or whatever. So that's been the biggest game changer for me, I think, just personalizing the actual solution a lot more.
100%. And I can already hear it through the screen. Is people saying, none of my leads can afford it. My lead quality isn't good enough. And I know for a fact, number one, it's a lead volume thing. And people just, number one, don't have enough leads because they don't have a consistent lead generation source. But second, it's like their positioning in the market, how much value is linked to the middle of funnel and then the bottom of funnel with testimonials, transformations. What are the story sequences looking like for nurture? Where are the VSL sales assets? And you look at all the pieces missing, you're like, okay, maybe that's why you can't sell at this amount. And then how do you actually position yourself in the market better with going for value and then going for the value conversion as well? How do they translate that value? Not what you find as a content creator valuable because you feel like talking about it. So does your content suck? Do your ads suck to bring in disqualified leads? And then do you even have the tracking to make sure that you can even disqualify them in the first, or you know how many you're actually getting so you can make the right adjustments? And then you're like, okay, was it actually a disqualified lead? Or do you just suck at objection handling? Like, what was in their savings? What was available to them in credit? What are their actual monthly outgoings? And what do they actually have available right now to invest in cash kind of thing? If you don't know the answers to those, they're not disqualified, because honestly, you just haven't gone deep enough into objection handling to find out. And then once again, we go back into how do you actually frame that without sounding like you're going in for a heavy asking, without sounding like you're salesy and pushy and then asking personal questions. It's the right pre-frame in the sales call itself. So if you're able to ask that properly, then you are able to find the truth to actually help them so they're not lying to themselves for the rest of their lives. So essentially, it's all of those pieces being in place to have a funnel which you can consistently convert high-ticket sales at back to back to back. But moving away from that as well, what other mistakes do you actually see or myths do you see in the online fitness coaching space right now that you feel needs to go?
Biggest myths, what in terms of like coaches' mistakes, or like as in like what people are doing wrong at the moment kind of thing?
Both, I guess.
I think, firstly, I do think, like we've just discussed, I think like the whole, monthly program, I don't think that's a big mistake. I think that used to be a bit of an old school thing. And I think that like a lot of people are still doing that, thinking that's the right approach. Obviously, there's a lot of people that are getting more like personal trainers or lower ticket options and things like that. I don't think that, again, is anything that's really going to work at the moment. I think that people need accountability and they need to invest into something, like I say, that's going to be like more of a lifetime solution. There's a lot of, I see more mentors and people crop up all the time now in terms of trying to offer their program. But I always believe that unless that person or who you're wanting to work with is kind of achieve what you want to achieve, then again, like they're not really going to be able to help you, provide the solution that you're looking for as well. So I think it's just like making sure that you do your research now properly in terms of like actually looking at the person, have they achieved what you want to achieve? Do you resonate with that person in terms of whether you feel like they can definitely help you? And then obviously from there, you're confident that you're going to be able to make the right solution. In terms of myths, I don't really know. Like, what would you say that you're seeing at the moment in terms of myths? Maybe give me an example.
I mean, we have a lot of calls and I'm on a lot of calls now as well. And I think bigger ones I'm seeing right now is more around organic being the only way, of course, content is the difference between them scaling and not scaling because they're very stuck in their ways. I can promise you it's not the content, and then niche as well. It's like people don't even start pushing something because they're not dialed into a niche. It's like, they're like, okay, I need to have this niche to even do anything with my business and start messaging people, or I'm gonna collapse. And I'm like, yes, you should probably dial down something. I wouldn't let it stop you from pushing volume, especially if you're struggling to build a business in the first place.
Yeah.
So it's
I think people probably do sometimes. I see them niching down a bit too much, like in terms of like they are very specific with like who they can help, and essentially they have a bit of a smaller market for themselves too. But I think at the same time, I think as an online coach, I see a lot of coaches that they just seem very generic. They don't seem like they've got a huge personal brand. They don't seem like, you know, I don't know, you would buy into them as much as well. So I think that that's another thing. I think as an online coach, yes, there's a lot of competition. People say the market's saturated. Like, it's probably saturated with coaches that don't really have much about them or aren't necessarily expressing themselves in the way they possibly could, which is going to help them build that kind of trust and personal brand. That's why a lot of what I do now is the longer form content, YouTube, all that kind of stuff too. And obviously the way, like you just said a second ago, the sales, like the way that we nurture before getting people on the sales call is always going to be to send them long form content, obviously send them a pre-nurture page, because the more that they've seen of me talking, the more likely they are to be able to buy and obviously then become a client. So I think that's another thing as well. Like you have to try and stand out in the space. And that is going to come down to you being a bit different, building up brand, like personal brand, I think is really important now too, if you want to be successful when it comes to this properly.
They are the niche. It's like people swing in too far either ways. They're either very wish-washy or hyper specific, and then they just stop themselves doing anything as well. Like, I can't take on 60% of my leads because they're not in my niche.
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, you should probably sell them and not make it anyway.
It doesn't mean that's the thing. Like, we're very clear with who we work with in terms of the fact that, you know, someone goes onto my page now, they'll see, right, you know, we work with men over 30. They'll look at our transformations and they'll see a lot of guys with six packs. So people kind of understand what it is that we work towards. Essentially, you know, lose the dad bod, get a six pack, typically guys over 30. But we've signed up like 3 or 4 women this month. And I've not got on the calls thinking, oh, I can't help this person. And we've worked with loads of women. We've had amazing results with women in the past. So I don't know how maybe our ads, but this is the thing, I was going to turn the ads off because I was thinking, why have we got women that are following? But then, of course, they were becoming clients, so I left them on. But that's the thing, like, you know, if I can help someone and I still feel like we can get them to where they want to be, which I felt that we can, you're still going to take those people on too. So I think it's important to have a really clear idea of who you do want to work with. I don't think you should be like super generic. But if you end up picking up other people along the way and you've got the social proof and you've got the ability to help them, then you can still help those people too. But I wouldn't close people off if it's like, if they're prepared to invest.
Yeah, it's just a matter of volume as well. It's like, okay, do you have 10,000 leads where you can be like, okay, I'm actually going to help only these people because I can't help the rest. But, you know, it's not always the case, very, very rarely the case. So for you as well, what would you tell yourself, let's say 6 months ago, about scaling your business that you know now? Or
yeah, so firstly, it would just be having more balls when it comes to being brave with ads and actually putting more money into that, because 6 months ago, you know, that wasn't what we were doing. I was still probably being a bit like worried about spending money, investing, is that going to work or not? I think the second thing would be really hiring a team. So what I said to myself 6 months ago is the most crucial part of this now is actually getting the right people on board that can really help you scale. You know, having one appointment setter that I've taken on has massively helped to grow the business. And again, that was through hiring the right person, brought on the right coach at the start of the year. So I think, yeah, if I was to give a message to my older self, it would just be like, actually start to take time with hiring, make sure that you're getting the right people on board, interview people properly. Don't just take on the first person that you speak to, and make sure that you do that job properly. You know, look through the SOPs that you've sent, like make sure I'm happy with that person. And then of course, give them the right training as well. I think it's really important that they're obviously onboarded into things properly. So I think, yeah, definitely just being okay and spending more. I would have told myself that was probably something that I could have done sooner in terms of spending more money on ads. But yeah, it's just the hiring of the right people as well. There's no way that, you know, if we do reach 50K this month, there's absolutely no way that I've been able to do that by myself. Like, you know, my brother yesterday got his first like proper re-sign on a call. I think he took like 2K cash. So I was really pleased with him on that. My setters booked a lot in this month as well. So, you know, I wouldn't be sat here now trying to push to that number without having the right team on board, great fulfillment team. We've got a photo shoot in 2 weeks. We've got 15 clients doing it, which I'm really excited for. That's going to go down really well too. So, and all of that wouldn't be possible if I was trying to do all this by myself. So yeah, 6 months ago, that's what I said to Chris, like, get the right people on board that can help you actually like get to where you want to be.
Understand. And any advice for anyone looking into getting outside help with their business?
Yeah, it is absolutely just invest in yourself. Like, you're not, I always say to people, like, if you knew how to get there by yourself, then you would be there by now. And this is what I say to, fat loss clients looking to work with us as well. The most important thing, I think, that if you can see like an ROI on, obviously, that personal, that investment, then like, why would you not do it? And I think if the proof is there in other people that they've worked with as well, obviously like yourself, there's loads of people that you've worked with that have done really well, then, that could be you as well. So I think it's just having the, again, like balls to be able to go forward and make an investment like that, knowing that you're going to get a return on it. And also just thinking like, what's the worst case scenario? I think a lot of people don't always do that as well. So anyone on the fence, I think it's, you're not going to achieve where you want and get to where you want by yourself. So I think it's important just to find the right people, do your research to a certain extent, but like just have the tenaciousness to jump in on these things. Very
much appreciate you saying. And honestly, I think you are a very, very good entrepreneur, very exceptional executor as well, which is not that common as well nowadays. So very, very good to see. So long-term potential here. So any final thoughts on the podcast itself, Chris?
Not really. I obviously, just want to say thank you. I think that obviously working with yourself and your team, Asri, has been, one of the best investments I've ever made. It's got me to where I am now. Excited for next year as well in terms of what we can really achieve. Like I said, I never thought I would have ever been able to push to 100K, whereas now I genuinely do see that. And I think that it's the mindset and the belief that you guys have kind of installed in me as well that's massively helped me get to where I am now. So yeah, I'm excited to keep pushing, and hopefully we can get there in the next 6 months or so.
Let's go all the way. Appreciate you, Chris. And thank you for jumping on.
Been a pleasure.
Awesome.